Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to a beautiful morning here in Southern California. It's time for the morning briefing with Friedman Adventures. As always, it's such a pleasure to be with you all. Thanks for joining us again, everybody. It's a beautiful day here in SoCal. There's a slight breeze. It's sunny. It's warm here early this morning, and that beach back behind me, man, it's just begging for someone to walk down there and do some surf fishing. You really should get out in the great outdoors today. All right, we got a lot to cover with you. As usual, we've got Bluefin Tuna to talk about, a little bit of albacore news that seems to get everybody all fired up. Some people think that it's a breach of etiquette to even make a prediction about albacore, so they get really fired up and angry about it. Kind of funny, actually. It's like, those people get angry when you say, hey, I think that the Lakers are going to win tomorrow or whatever. We're just guessing about fishing, but we've got some more observations about that albacore and so much more. We'll talk about the islands, the coast. We'll take you south of the border. We'll try to cover it all with you here this morning. I want to thank Sky over there at Blacktail Hooks for hosting us yesterday. We went over to Best Fishing Tackle in Hawthorne. When I say we, it was Eddie Leland's birthday. Captain Eddie Leland and I bounced around. We went to Best Fishing Tackle and Sky. Thank you once again for sponsoring our Friedman Adventures trip. Our next trip sails on July the 5th out of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro. We'll be on the Pride, and have those guys been hot or not? We got a couple of openings on that trip, but everybody on board will get some of these blacktail hooks. And once again, Sky, thank you so much. We've got a whole bunch of blacktail hooks to fish the surf later today, and so we'll be shooting some videos and hopefully catching some yellowfin croaker, a halibut, or something really cool later on today. All right, let me take you down south of the border where we have seen more bluefin back in the counts. Still have a lot of warm water along the Baja coast. And, a while ago we were catching some yellowfin tuna. There's been a couple of pongeros who've caught some yellowfin tuna these past 48 hours. Not a lot, but just evidence that that warm water push that we were getting, that south swell that pushed up warm water, is eventually, we hope, going to flush more yellowfin and dorado perhaps, and even yellowtail up the Baja coast and offer us a really good chance at some good fishing on mixed bag stuff. And I love that smorgasbord kind of fishing along the Baja coast. So we're watching that. There is still bluefin tuna. The pongeros down there are trolling Mad Max around and doing pretty well, but there has been more misses here recently. As you know, that bluefin bite kind of dipped down, and now it's starting to come up once again. So hopefully it's going to continue to head in the right direction, and we'll see more and more of it. Pongeros down there, though, starting to pick up more and more fish once again. They get out of that warm water into a little bit cooler water. Not that cool, but a little bit cooler, and they are seeing better bluefin tuna. I know Arnie was here the other day, and he was feeling quite down about the prospects for bluefin. He thought water had warmed up too much in Ensenada. We'll see what happens here in the coming days. San Diego-based boats, boy, we went through an absolutely horrible period down there. I mean, horrible in the sense that we knew the fish were there. We were seeing so much bluefin tuna, and it just wouldn't bite. But it's starting to get back on the bite. It is back on the bite for most guys. And yesterday, I made another prediction. I hope that didn't get anybody's blood pressure too high as my friend Valentino goes by. Buenos dias. Mi hermano Valentino. Yesterday, I made a prediction. I said, and I didn't want to put any pressure on Ryan Bosty in San Diego out of C4 Sport Fishing. I said he would have over 20 bluefin tuna, and he did it yesterday. You could see it. They were starting to get more and more bluefin tuna, starting to pick away, and those guys are such superior fishermen on the San Diego. And same thing, Grande, Liberty, Malahini, Mission Bell, really blessed with some great fishermen. But they had a great day, 26 on the bluefin tuna, 6 yellowtail. Now we're starting to see some smaller bluefin tuna in San Diego, some of that 20 to 40 pound fish. So what worked really good yesterday on the San Diego, and this is fun fishing, was a fly line bait. Taking your time, choosing a really good hot bait, number 1 or number 2 size hook, and 30 to 40 pound fluorocarbon. We like opsonusa.com. Put in FA at checkout and you'll get a note and a free gift from Greg Brown. Opson USA, great fluorocarbon. You have your favorite, go with that. Just fish fluoro. It seems to make a huge difference. And that's not a bad score. We're starting to climb back into some really good fishing, and hopefully as we go along, we are going to see better scores. We told you about the Polaris Supreme with a big hit the other day, the Pacific Queen with 51 on the bluefin, 25 to 60 pound fish. The Islander at 24 on the bluefin tuna. There was some good nighttime fishing last night, fishing knife jigs, Akanas, flat falls. That 120 gram range has been working pretty well in the daytime, and then at night you might get into some heavier stuff, and there has been some really good nighttime fishing. There's never been a doubt that the fish went anywhere. Or actually, they moved, but the volume of fish is still so very impressive. I mean, beyond impressive. Sometimes we'll have boats spread over a 40-mile area, and we're seeing bluefin tuna throughout that entire area. So we have yet to see that just go like that. And that might happen here very, very soon, as it just seems like the trajectory of the bite right now is up. There's been some misses. I mean by that, guys are not getting their limits, or there's been actual misses where it's been entirely missed. But we're climbing back into the game. It looks much better. Conditions are great. We don't have any wind in the forecast right now, and we're getting the solar warming, and things are definitely headed in the right direction. Now, I mentioned that these guys are catching a smaller grade of fish. That big fish is still around, and they are still catching it. And sometimes you're going to go into a bite that is straight big fish. So yes, you do need 30 and 40. You still need, on every single trip, the 6 a.m. in the morning trips to a 3-day trip, 2 speed reels with 80 to 100 pound, and be ready to do some serious battle, because we still see fish up over 200 pounds rolling around the Baja region, spread up into U.S. waters. Now there's some fish up there in U.S. waters. There's fish south of the border. This bite still looks very, very good. We're going to keep our eyes on it for you very, very closely. All right, let me start with the islands and Todos Santos. Same thing down there off the Ensenada area. A lot more barracuda here recently for the boys down there, and some of them are starting to focus on it, catching a few more yellowtail also at Todos. That is not bad at all, showing some great signs. Coronado Islands, San Diego boats that have been running there, most driving by it, fishing the bluefin tuna, but a few yellows, more and more barracuda, some really good calico bass fishing at the Coronado Islands right now, so that's looking really good. Also, as we move you up to San Clemente Island, that place has been showing significant signs of life. Sometimes you get a really great bite, and other times it slows up a little bit. Yesterday, the Thunderbird had 14 yellowtail. Now that is nothing to scoff at. That's a nice day. And they had, bonita and some barracuda, some bass, some sheep's head, all that variety at SCI. The water temps up there over 70 degrees now. So it is quite warm. And one of these days, one of these guys going home is going to run into that bluefin again, as did Mark Paisano Jr. about a week ago on board the Amigo. Found copious amounts of giant bluefin tuna right off Pyramid Head. That was a one-day deal. That fish was moving, and it was not slowing down. Apparently, the Taco Bell was not open there off Pyramid Head, so they went off looking for McDonald's or some other food source that was open, and they got out of there. But there'll be bait that moves in there. Conditions look really good, and hopefully that's going to come together here very, very soon. The Freedom was there yesterday, and Trevor, it was virtually his first trip that he ran. He's a great kid, capable captain. I mean, he covers all the bases. He's ready in case of an emergency. He's a really smart fisherman, and I get this all from Tino Valentine, the guy that's kind of been his mentor here recently. So he had 7 yellowtail, and Brandon Kazar was on board. There's Brandon's nice yellowtail. Said he had an absolutely great time. 7 yellows, a few bass, a few sheep's head, not wide open, but again, good signal, good sign at Clemente. You want to bring dropper loop rigs, so you want to fish dropper loops. If you're fishing in the night or the really early morning, you don't need fluorocarbon, but a lot of guys say just tie it with fluoro. It's more resistant to the abrasive rocks or any kind of structure that you might bump into, so that you have that going for you. and fish bite it better. Now, you can argue that, yeah, at night you don't need it, but switching back and forth can be a pain in the neck. I guess it's a balancing act between, okay, fluoro's more expensive and mono is not, so what do you do? I'll leave that decision up to you. I would go with fluoro if I were you. You spent all this money, taking all this time, you might as well spend a couple more bucks and make sure you've got everything taken care of there. Up in the Channel Islands, that bite is going back and forth. A few days ago, full speed, wide open. There's still some conking going on the white sea bass for a few guys. A lot of guys keeping it quiet up there, and some other guys not doing so well. In fact, the Aloha Spirit, one day 45 white sea bass, next day I think they had 1 white sea bass. So those guys are hit and miss up there, but there is some really good sea bass fishing to be had, and it is that run and gun type of fishing for the most part. Those guys will run up on a sonar mark or actually visually see the sea bass on the surface. They'll shut down and tell you to drop. Many cases that 10-ounce torpedo sinker has worked really, really well, and in a dropper loop rig. And then sometimes you're in that short water and you need a sliding egg sinker kind of rig, or even a lead head type of rig. So you need at least 2 rods to fish effectively in the Channel Islands right now. And along the beach, well, we'll get to that in a moment. I'll talk about what's going on along the beach here in just 1 minute. All right, so there's some really good signal, as you can hear, all over the place. Catalina Island, mixed bag, and really inconsistent. One day you'll do really good on the bonita and catch some barracuda and maybe an exotic or two, a yellowtail or a sea bass. And then the next day, it's pretty poor fishing at Cat. So very inconsistent, gorgeous conditions, beautiful weather. It's a lovely day to spend over there at the island that's right behind me. And once again, the pursuit is fishing there on a regular basis. Hopefully we'll see that place kick into gear with these yellows. There's a lot of that small grade yellowtail and some big stuff over there also. Sometimes you're dropper looping at Cat, other times it's straight fly line. Let's hope that gets going. All right, coast down there in Ensenada around University Point and the Punta Banda area, good calico bass, lots of barracuda at University Point area. That's been biting really well. Move you up to San Diego, bass fishing good, a lot of shorts on the calico bass for the local boats down there, but also you get a good shot of some legal fish every once in a while. And there's nothing better you can do than find an anchovy in the tank, fish light fluorocarbon, and maybe a little sliding egg sinker. You will get bit on the bass. No mystery, as I've told you since I was a kid. You definitely want to fish that lighter line, find a good hot bait, and make sure that you are being very observant about boils or birds dipping, anything like that. That is definitely the way to get it done. All right, moving up to Dana Point area, same thing, some bass in there. Up here in the Long Beach and San Pedro area, what a signal on barracuda we had a couple of days ago. In fact, Sam De La Torre and I have a tutorial up, jig fishing basics for barracuda. Take a look, as Sam always does. Such a great job explaining some of the things. And if you're a beginner, this is a good video for you. Even you guys who are old barracuda iron fishermen like me, Jeff Yeoman's over there at the 540 Slinger, Danny, I saw him, Evan Leeper, I saw those guys over at Sam's Place, Island Fishing Tackle yesterday. Even if you are, it's always fun to listen to Sam and just reinforce some of those good ideas. But back to that barracuda bite, really good signal. And I don't know what happened. I'm praying that this is not a replay of what we've seen over the past several years. Namely, that we get this big jag of barracuda, it moves in, it bites, and then it's gone. It's not like it used to be. I know I'm starting to sound like that old guy, you know, remember when blah, blah, blah. But the gar used to get in here and stay for a month or two, and you'd have consistently good barracuda fishing. So was it that we just got too much boat pressure on it? Because that was definitely part of this whole thing. Or is it going to bite again? The guys that are fishing locally are not doing that bad. They're having some pretty darn good fishing. Enterprise with good mixed bag bonita and barracuda and some calico and sand bass. And then all these guys are topping off with, of course, sculpin. So you're going home with some good fish taco material. But that big barracuda bite, we're hoping is going to get back on today. You couldn't ask for better conditions and a more beautiful day. It's perfect for it to happen. And hopefully maybe some of those boats are off doing something else today and that gar will settle in. Mostly spot fishing. I mean, and all the local guys were getting in on that. Bruce over there on the Sport King, the Victory, the Monte Carlo out of 22nd Street Landing. Hopefully we're going to see more of that. Judith Ann with my friend Tom Durr. He's been out recently, not only catching barracuda, but really good calico bass fishing. He's a smaller boat, so you go out with 4 of your best friends or enemies with Tom out of 22nd Street Landing, and I'll tell you, it's been good. And Tom says it's only going to get better as this water warms up, and I think he is absolutely right. Up there in the Channel Islands along the coast, we're seeing some pretty good fishing. Mixed bag, sand bass, calico bass, and some good barracuda fishing. And that's the Island Spirit out of Ventura Sport Fishing. The California, the half-day boat, the old Matt Walsh out of Ventura Sport Fishing. They're picking away pretty well up there and catching some good barracuda. Now, inconsistent for sure, but a dropper loop rig, lighter line, sometimes surface iron, sometimes a fly line bait or a small sliding egg sinker. There's a few halibut mixed in there also, pretty darn good. There's been barracuda even up off Santa Barbara, so hopefully that will continue also. Along the coast here, God almighty, who cares if they bite or not? Seriously, it's so freaking beautiful this morning. Gotta feel blessed to live here in SoCal and be able to fish these gorgeous beaches. And you know, when things are tough financially, I mean, this is the perfect thing to do. If you can't afford to get out on a boat, you can always come down to the surf and spend a few hours trying to catch a barred perch, which are few and far between because the water's too warm, but a yellowfin croaker, a spotfin croaker, there's all kinds of stuff, including halibut along these beaches. So down there around San Diego area, there's been some halibut, especially up there around Dana Point, we see some halibut, and spread up and down these beaches, especially down at Bolsa Chica, there's been spotfin croaker on bait. You want to fish bait, sandworms, sand crabs are 2 really great baits for catching spotfin croaker. And remember, I've showed you, you can go back and watch the video, showed you how you can mine your own sandworms. And since those worms live here, those fish are used to seeing them, and they seem to bite them way better than worms that are imported from somewhere else in the world. So that is definitely something you'll want to do. Here in Surfside, pretty slow. We're going to give it a try with, as I said, some great new blacktail hooks. Can't wait to do that. That should be a lot of fun. And then Long Beach, a few halibut and yellowfin croaker and corvina spread all along these beaches. Once again, just starting to happen, but there is a lot of corvina around. I haven't seen huge catches on them, but they are here. The water's warm. There's sand crabs. There's plenty of bean clams on the beach, all this stuff that they like to feed on. So hopefully that will kick into gear even a little bit better. All right, everybody, the morning briefing for you all. We'll continue to watch it. Oh, shoot, I forgot to mention that San Francisco area, we're seeing copious amounts of halibut and stripers. Lovely Martha Sport Fishing provided us with that photo. That is pretty darn impressive, if you ask me. Wow. One of these days I got to get up to lovely Martha's Sport Fishing and do that and shoot a video up there. I would really like to do that. All right, everybody, thanks again for watching. We really appreciate it. Eddie Leland and I had such a great day yesterday. It was wonderful celebrating his birthday with blacktail hooks, also with Sam over at Island Fishing Tackle. And we had some of the best sheep's head ceviche I've ever had in my life with Chef Jason over at Scholb's in Long Beach. Jason will be open up this afternoon. You can go over there and check it out. Go over there and have a Dodger dog, watch a game, and say hi to the chef who loves to fish, Chef Jason. Good friend and a great guy. Take care, my friends. We'll be back with lots more all day long today. Thanks for spending some time with me.